if I told you that one of the greatest threats to House Targaryen wasn't a prince, wasn't a lord, and wasn't even born in a nobility? Instead, he was just a common blacksmith, a man so powerful that legends claimed he could twist iron bars with his bare hands, a man who rode the second largest dragon in the world, a man who betrayed the queen, who gave him everything, and then tried to place himself on the Iron Throne. Yes, this is the story of Hugh Hammer, the most infamous dragon seed of the Dance of the Dragons. So who was Hugh Hammer? Hugh Hammer first appears during the Dance of the Dragons, the brutal civil war fought between Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen and King Aegon II. Unlike great lords fighting on either side, Hugh wasn't born into wealth or power. According to Fire and Blood, he was the bastard son of a blacksmith from Dragonstone. He was an enormous man, famed for his incredible strength. George R.R. Martin writes that he was so strong he could bend steel bars with his bare hands. Naturally, his weapon of choice wasn't a sword. It was a massive warhammer, hence the name Hugh Hammer. Despite his humble upbringing, Hugh possessed something far more valuable than gold: Valyrian blood. That made him one of the dragon seeds. And then we get to the question, what is a dragon seed? During the Dance of the Dragon, the forces under Rhaenyra faced a serious problem. They possessed far more dragons than they had dragon riders. So Jace proposed an unprecedented solution. He would invite anyone with enough Targaryen or Valyrian ancestry in to attempt to claim one of the riderless dragons on Dragonstone. These people became known as the Dragon Seeds. Many of them died trying to ride these dragons. Some were burned alive, some were torn apart and eaten before they even reached the dragon. Only a handful were successful, among them the aforementioned Hugh Hammer. Hugh claimed Vermithor, and if there was a dragon every dragon seed dreamed of riding, it was Vermithor. Known as the Bronze Fury, Vermithor once belonged to King Jaehaerys I, the Old King. By the time of the Dance of the Dragon, Vermithor was ancient, massive, battle-hardened, second only in size to Vhagar. Most people assumed that no common-born man could ever tame such a beast, and if they would have said that, they would have been wrong. Against all odds, Hugh successfully bonded with Vermithor. Overnight, he became something of one of the most powerful men in Westeros, from a common blacksmith to the guy riding the second largest dragon in Westeros. So because of the Dance of the Dragons, he proved that his birth mattered far less than the dragon he was riding. After claiming Vermithor, Hugh joined Queen Rhaenyra's cause. He wasn't alone. There were other dragon seeds. Adam of Hall, Nettles, Ulf the White also became dragon riders. Ulf is just a guy who was perpetually hammered. Their arrival kind of dramatically shifted the balance of power. For a time, it appeared Rhaenyra had secured victory through dragon power alone. And Hugh fought alongside the Blacks during the Battle of the Gullet, where the Valyrian fleet battled the Triarchy in one of the most bloody naval battles in Westerosi history. The Triarchy lost 2/3 of their fleet. I believe the Valyrian fleet lost almost half. It was a terrible battle for both sides. Jace died, his dragon died, but Hugh survived. And because the battle favored Rhaenyra, strategically anyway, that made his reputation grow. And to reward Hugh Hammer, Rhaenyra granted lands and titles. He became Lord of Bitterbridge. And for most commoners would see this as, oh, you made it in the world. That would have been enough, but not for Hugh Hammer. Power has a way of changing people, especially if they are not at all built for that. I believe Uncle Ben has the great saying, with great power comes great responsibility. Hugh had no responsibility, and if you watch the other video, Ulf had no sense of how to act with responsibility. and power changed to both. And Hugh was riding one of the most powerful dragons to ever live, and he wanted more. He wanted much, much more. This brings us to the first Battle of Tumbleton, and everything changed there. As the Black Army marched towards the town, the Greens prepared its defenses. And at the height of the battle, Hugh Hammer and Ulf White shockingly switched sides. The betrayal shocked both armies. Instead of fighting for Rhaenyra, Vermithor and Silverwing turned their fire upon their own forces. Chaos followed, thousands died, and Tumbleton was devastated by dragonfire. The betrayal became one of the single most catastrophic moments in the entire Dance of the Dragons. And from that day forward, Hugh and Ulf would be forever remembered as the two betrayers. So why did Hugh actually betray Rhaenyra? George R.R. Martin intentionally leaves Hugh's motivation somewhat mysterious. Several possibilities were suggested. The Greens may have offered him greater rewards, better land, a better title, that sort of thing. He may have believed Rhaenyra would eventually dispose of the powerful dragon seeds after the war, which commoners riding powerful dragons, you might need those people to go. I can understand that. Or perhaps that Hugh simply realized that Vermithor, being one of the larger dragons beneath him, he possessed more raw military power than almost anyone alive. Power often creates ambition, and Hugh had plenty of both. And after Tumbleton, Hugh's ambitions became impossible to ignore. He reportedly declared, "Why be a lord when you can be king?" Many soldiers actually began supporting him. After all, he rode the second largest dragon alive. His army respected him, his enemies feared him, and there was even a prophecy some believed. When a hammer shall fall upon the dragon, a new king shall rise, and none shall stand before him. Hugh believed that meant him. Hugh Hammer, the hammer was him. He even crowned himself with a black iron crown. It was an astonishing moment. A common-born bastard who was openly claiming the Iron Throne, not as a rebel lord, but as king. And then the second Battle of Tumbleton, which some would say basically ended the war. Hugh's dreams ended at the second Battle of Tumbleton almost as quickly as they began. Before he could march on King's Landing, the battle erupted. During the chaos, Sir John Roxton, wielding the Valyrian steel sword Orphan Maker, struck Hugh down. The massive dragon seed fell before he ever reached his dragon. With Hugh dead, Vermithor fought riderless. The Great Bronze Fury rampaged across the battlefield, killing friend and foe alike, until he was finally slain after a brutal struggle involving Sea Smoke and Tessarion. The death of Vermithor marked the end of one of the greatest dragons in Targaryen history. The HBO adaptation changed several aspects of Hugh's story. Instead of appearing as a already powerful dragon seed, Hugh was introduced as a sympathetic blacksmith struggling to feed his family in King's Landing. The show also gives him a specific mother, making him technically the grandson of King Jaehaerys I. His connection explains why Vermithor may have accepted him so readily. However, this ancestry is unique to the television adaptation because in George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood, Hugh's exact Targaryen parentage is never actually confirmed. Future seasons may adapt this betrayal at Tumbleton because, as HBO does, they tend to, do their own thing. But to end this, few men rose as high or fell as hard and as fast as Hugh Hammer. He began life as a bastard blacksmith, became one of the greatest dragon riders of his age, helped change the course of the Dance of the Dragon, then betrayed his queen, attempted to crown himself king, and died before his dream could come to reality. His story perfectly captures one of the critical themes of George R.R. Martin's world: Dragons grant imaginable power, but they cannot grant wisdom, or loyalty, or the right to rule. Sometimes the greatest threats to a kingdom isn't the enemy outside its walls, it's the man who suddenly realized he has the biggest dragon.